Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. It has been a long time since we talked about the king of pop, Michael Jackson. There was I think it was a class action lawsuit. Maybe not. Maybe just a bunch of individual lawsuits. No, it was one lawsuit.
Thank you.
It involved 34 fans suing Michael Jackson's doctor, Conrad Murray. He was jailed in 2011 for emotional suffering. Of course, suing the doctor because he basically gave the drugs to Michael Jackson.
He was found criminally negligent in Michael Jackson's death. Yeah, so I guess ultimately he was responsible in some way.
Yeah. And this is not an American court. This is a court in Orleans. Is that how you would pronounce it?
I guess. What are you talking about?
Let's see. Where is that? It's in France.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, of course.
Hey, just a quick aside. The French love Michael Jackson. I never understood. I'm not surprised to hear you say where this is out of, but I knew about that in France, people were just obsessed with the guy. Not that they weren't obsessed around the world, but there seemed to be some particular obsession with Michael Jackson in France.
I was never really aware of that. I had no idea.
Oh, okay.
But this, I'll just take your word for it. Apparently it's true. I mean, you had, but only 34 people suing the doctor for emotional suffering. But there were only 4 or 5 people who actually were awarded damages. And this is kind of strange. The damages are about €1 each. That is what they are going to receive from Murray. So I don't know. I guess he's since been released, and can this French court mandate this? I mean, can they?
I don't know, because on the one hand, if you've committed a crime or a grievance, if someone has a grievance against you, it doesn't matter where you are or where they were or where you live, right? Like if you go over and you commit murder in France and get to the U.S., you can still be extradited or be forced to see justice in France, for example, or wherever it is the crime took place. So you would think that this would stand, but at the same time, we see all the time that, for example, when the UK, I believe it was, wanted the head of the Mormon Church, who's based in the US, to go to the UK to prove their teachings are literally true, they just said, no, he's not going to go. And it doesn't seem anyone's going to compel him to go either.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he'll just pay it, what will be the equivalent of like $10 to these people because whatever, he doesn't care about $10. But it's pretty strange. We've talked about legal related things and government related rulings in France, a lot of which I think make no sense. I think I have to add this to the list. This is just utterly ridiculous. And who cares? I mean, are these fans really going to feel better because they get €1 from the doctor? It makes no sense to me. But that's what's going on in France. I guess maybe just symbolically, this ruling will make them feel better. Who knows? David, do you know what vapor pens are?
They are, isn't it kind of like an electronic cigarette, but for marijuana?
They're just kind of, I think they're supposed to be used for tobacco, but they're basically like a cheap e-cigarette. And you can buy them for about $25 at the low end. And it is vapor. It does cause, it does whatever you're smoking in it, it vaporizes it so that there really isn't any smell. And so kids got the bright idea of bringing these pens into school and smoking pot right in the middle of a classroom because it's you can't really smell it. Now, there is a little bit of a smell. I know I know multiple people who use vaporizers and even high-end vaporizers. I can still kind of smell just the faintest hint of pot when it's being used and when they exhale and stuff like that. So, but I guess if you're in a big classroom, there's lots of kids and there's may just be masked. Pretty brilliant, I guess, right?
Yes, and incredibly stupid. I mean, when we were in high school and middle school, some people would figure out ways to drink during class. Not during class, but to drink like right before somewhere, and then you sit in class buzzed or something like that. And I never did that, so I don't remember exactly what people were doing, if they were bringing alcohol to school or during lunch going home and having some kind of drink or something like that. That was kind of one thing, but now that there is all of this technology like portable vapor pens, it seems students are bringing the stupidity to an even higher level.
Yeah, and people are catching on now, and it's ultimately schools will probably just have to ban these vapor pens and be on the lookout for them. But speaking of getting drunk during class, I did that once in high school. I did it with one friend of ours. We had a water bottle that had Bacardi in it. And oh man, I hate the stuff, but that's what we were drinking. And we started drinking it. Let's see, there were 4 classes in a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we started drinking it during the second one. I thought,
which is about 9:30 in the morning, mind you.
Yeah. I thought our third period English teacher was not going to be there that day. She had said she wasn't going to be there. I assumed we would have a substitute. So we're drinking. I got a little buzz going. We get to class and she's there. And I'm thinking, oh, crap, this is not good. And I remember at one point getting up to go to the bathroom. She had stepped out of the room quickly. And I get up to go to the bathroom. And I open up the door. And she's right there, right in my face. And my whole interaction with her, I had to inhale every time I talked. And I didn't exhale at all. And I don't know if she smelled it. I think she might have, but she didn't say anything. So I don't. Maybe I did good. But yeah, that was the one and only time I ever drank in school. Of course, that was early. Later, of course, I would go to school hungover and stuff like that. But never actually drinking in school.
God, no. Of course, you would never do that again after that one time when you did it.
I really didn't, David. I really didn't. I barely did. I did what I needed to do to get by. And I think had I been drinking during school regularly, I might have just fallen off that wire I was balancing on.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in assuming if you started regularly going to school drunk, it wasn't going to be good for your graduation chances. I think that's a pretty smart thing to say. Okay, so let me explain what happened with my phone. I've had probably a dozen phones over the last 16 or however many years I've had cell phones. I've never broken a screen. I've never broken a phone. I've also never bought those insurance plans that they offer you on your phone for like $4 or $5 a month. I never buy warranties on any kind of electronics products. Now, the other day, I was on the treadmill and I had my headphones connected to my phone. And as usual, I put my phone like this on the treadmill. And somehow I looked around and coming back, I hit the cord to my headphones. And the phone fell to the ground. It does have a case on it, and I thought, no big deal. I pick it up, and the screen is completely cracked and off, and it doesn't work. But what I was listening to was still playing. The podcast I was listening to was still playing. So I try to turn the phone on and off. I take the battery out. I put the battery back in and try to turn the phone on. And it's clear that the phone works, but the screen is completely dead. So I call up Sprint, which is my carrier, and I say, here's the deal. My phone screen broke. What are my options? And the guy says, well, we don't repair screens, first of all, so you can't bring it here to have your screen fixed. Do you have insurance on it? And I said, no, I don't. He said, well, even if you did, the insurance on screens, you have to have a $200 deductible. So I said, wait a second. So if I had been paying the $4 a month insurance, for however many years, I would still have to pay $200 to get the screen fixed? He said, yeah, that's the deductible. So that at least made me glad that I didn't have the insurance and hadn't been wasting money on that $4 a month for the last 16 years. So then I said, okay, well, what would it cost to just buy another Samsung S4 new? Since I'm in a contract now, I don't get the discounted price. And he says, well, a new Samsung S4 is $600. And that's a lot of money. So I said, okay, that's enough. He says, you know, there are people like in the Chinatown area where you can get the phone screen replaced. I can't really advise you about it, but find out. And I said, okay. So I talked to a couple friends who always break their screens, and they said, yeah, call this place, call that place. I find a place on Canal Street. If people aren't familiar with New York City, Canal Street is one of the streets where, as you walk on the street during the day, the sidewalks are packed with all sorts of street vendors, and Canal Street goes through Chinatown. There's the kind of crazy, very busy Chinese grocery stores with the fish and the barbecue duck in the window. And this is a very hectic, busy neighborhood. And there's all these little sketchy mall type places that you never really notice, right? So I call up a place and a guy picks up, clearly a Chinese guy, and he says, yeah, we'll fix it. It's $250 and you have to pay cash. I said, okay, all right. So I take the subway, I go in. It's like the sketchiest mall you've ever seen. You walk in, there's like a massage place. Who knows what type of massage place it is. There's like a Chinese reflexology place. There's a feng shui place. And then there's a cell phone store. Big sign saying we only take cash. For whatever reason, I just assumed they weren't going to steal my phone and they were going to fix it. Hand the guy my phone and say, I'll be back. I don't carry $250 in cash on me ever. And I'm going to go get the money. He says, great, half hour, come back. Now I'm really worried that they're going to put in some weird screen. The touch screen's not going to work right. It's going to be a disaster. I come back after 15 minutes. They said it would take 30. The guy says, you're all set. I look at it. It's like nothing ever happened to the phone. Works perfectly. And I say, oh, is this like the factory screen? And he says, oh, yeah. We use it's a factory full LCD screen from Samsung. No problem at all. Give him the $250. Phone works perfectly. And it's my first sketchy cell phone repair experience. Now, here's the funny thing. I posted to Facebook and people said, $250? You got ripped off. You could have paid $60 to have it fixed. And I looked online, assuming I had, been cheated out of $200. And no, in fact, if just the glass breaks, that's $50 or $60. But my entire screen had broken. The whole LCD panel was broken. Sometimes you see the cracked screen, but everything is still on behind it. That would have been $50 or $60. This was the full thing. Maybe I could have saved a little bit of it, but hey, I saved compared to spending $600, that's for sure.
Here's a question. Are you 100% certain that they did not just copy all the data over from your phone onto a new phone, and not necessarily maybe even a new Galaxy, but then hand you that one instead of your old phone?
I think so, because there's like little scratches and stuff on it that are identical. And I can't imagine that they would have been able to do that. And if they did, would it have all of my apps and all of my data perfectly set up within 15 minutes?
Yeah, maybe not, but just a thought.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right, well, anyway.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm still ahead, because if you take $4 a month times 12 months a year times 16 years, right, for the insurance, that would be like $900 or something like that. And I would have still had to pay $200 to get the screen replaced. So I'm actually still way ahead by never having purchased the warranty.
All right. If you live in the Big Apple and this happens to you, just send Dave an email and ask him where to go. And he'll direct you to the shady mall where they do shady business with your cell phone that certainly voids your whatever factory warranty you might have.
No.
But hey, like you said, you'll probably save money in the end. All right. We're out.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.